Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Women and Young Members Excellent Committee of ICI, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to Yashasvi and Idol series. This is the 84th episode. Yashaswini and Idol is a Wednesday series of programs conducted by WIMEC for women CAs and by the women CAs. This series is an extension of Sky High Symposium, which has concluded its 100 episodes. It is one of committee's initiatives to not only disseminate information to women members on technical updation and non-technical skills, but also to empower and inspire women members to come to the forefront and realize their verbal skills at the public forum. Before we move into the session, I would like to bring this to the notice of all the participants that ICI CA Women Awards, our nomination for the same is live, and the last date of filling the nominations has been extended to 10th of December. So if you all would like to nominate yourself in any of the award categories, you can do so by the 10th of December. Now, moving on, I have the privilege of introducing another Namrata in the room. Namrata Chande is a chartered accountant and an assistant manager at a leading CA firm. Her specialization is in direct tax litigation with hands-on experience representing clients before the tribunal, ITAT. She also provides expert consultancy on Benami laws, black money regulations, and FEMA matters. Her work focuses on delivering strategic, compliant, and effective tax solutions. So over to you, Namrata ji, for an enlightening session.
So thank you so much, Namrata ma'am, for such warm welcome on the board. And I'm very thankful for granting this opportunity to present before the Young Women and Young Members Excellence Committee to present the seminar. So I am also very much grateful to give me that opportunity to present before the audience the topic of scrutiny and litigation in direct taxation. So yes, we can now start and I'll be sharing the screen. So Namrata ma'am, I'll just request if we could just check whether the screen share is visible or not, and then we can
Sure,
move on.
sure.
Yeah.
Your screen is visible. Now you can just start the PPT.
Yeah, thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, but your PPT is not yet on.
PPT is just a second. Is it now visible, ma'am?
No, not to me.
Visible?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. Thanks, ma'am. So very warm welcome to all the participants out here for listening to the topic of scrutiny and assessment and income taxation. So as far as the scrutiny and assessments are concerned in the income tax thing, so basically as soon as the individual files the return of income, then the return gets processed under as per the intimation which is issued under section 143(1) of the Income Tax Act, and there are specific deadlines which are associated with issuing of intimations under the 143 section 143(1) of the Income Tax Act 1961. So basically now whenever an individual, let's say for example, now we start with what is scrutiny and what is assessment under Income Tax Act. So the word scrutiny happens, it is not only that word scrutiny or scrutiny happens only in case of those assessees which have filed their return of income. It can also be taken place that assessment proceedings can also be taken place in case of an individual or any other assessee who is non-filer in the income for the non-filer of the individual returns, or non-filer of any of the corporate entities. Let's say, for example, any trust, any corporates, any individuals who have not filed their return of income could also be subject to scrutinies and assessments under Income Tax Act. So now let's say, for example, as soon as you have filed your return of income under section 139(1), 139(4), or 139(5, that is under 139(1), the original return, then we come to 139(4), that is the belated return, and 139(5), that is the revised return under the Income Tax Act. So as per as after filing the return of income, there are deadlines which are associated every time with the income tax department for issuing the notices for scrutiny. So now you have filed your return of income. You should not be just sitting relaxed that no, I have received an intimation copy. After that, now my case cannot be selected for scrutiny. Now that is not always the reason. That is not always reason that you can just hold your back and sit comfortably that now I have received an intimation. So it is not necessary that just getting an intimation would debar you from your proceedings being selected for scrutiny. I'll just give you some of the deadlines. With the help of deadlines, we can have a comfortable example on how the scrutiny proceedings get initiated, what is the desired timeline which is there to come to know whether your case would be selected for scrutiny or not. Now, coming to the initial intimation under Section 143(1), that is issued by the CPC authority, that is Centralized Processing Center. So, they basically, after filing a return of income, now let's say, for example, there is an individual who has filed his return of income for the financial year 23-24 within timeline, that is under 139(1) of the Income Tax Act. Now, it is a duty bound, or it is time bound, that intimation should be issued before the expiry of 9 months from the end of the financial year in which the return is being filed. So now, if you could see for financial year 23-24, that expiry limit of 9 months to issue an intimation order is coming to 31st of December 2025. Now, after you receive an intimation, there are chances that there could be issues like TDS credit would not be granted, or there could be issue that some of the disallowances which are made in tax audit report, but unfortunately at the time the same disallowances have not been made in your while processing the return of income. You have failed to make that disallowance, which disallowances you have made in tax audit report, but you have not made in income tax return. And then there could be certain issues wherein there could be issues of loss. You have claimed losses, wherein claimed losses of those years wherein the return of income was filed belatedly. So intimation under 143(1) is basically for arithmetical and clerical errors. They identify what CPC identifies based on system, what are those errors, and accordingly it processes your return of income, and accordingly an intimation order under 143(1) is issued. There could be possibilities that demand is being raised, or whatever return of income you have filed is accepted, and there is no demand or no demand, additional demand which is liable, and whatever refund, if at all you have claimed any refund, that is same, or due to lack of TDS credit mismatch, the refund could be of a shorter amount. Now this is a timeline of 9 months. Now, let's say, for example, a person or any type of assessee, he has filed his return of income, and he wants to make sure that whether his case is selected for scrutiny or not. Now, what is scrutiny? The first and the foremost notice to know whether your case will be selected for scrutiny is under Section 143(2) of the Income Tax Act. Now, if you are receiving notice under 143(2) of the Income Tax Act, then that is the notice which tells you that what is that your case, your return of income for the year under consideration has been selected for scrutiny on which grounds. Now, let's say, for example, there is one appellant, he has made large remittances in foreign currency. So the 143(2) notice would specify that after examining the return of income filed by you, it is either that you have made large foreign remittances during the year under consideration, and this being the reason which they have allocated for selection of scrutiny. So the timeline for that, whether to come to know whether you want to know whether your case is selected for scrutiny is before the expiry of 3 months from the end of the financial year in which return is filed. So now financial year 23-24, the return, just because the return, let's say for example, the due date is 31st of July 2024. Now this 31st of July 2024, the financial year becomes 24-25. That financial year 24-25 ends on March 25, and before the expiry of that, so it comes to 30th June. So basically, this is a deadline which is associated for selection of case of scrutiny, whether your case would be selected for scrutiny or not. Then after the selection, there is specific format which is issued by CBDT in which notices under section 143 are to be issued. Now, if your notice is not falling within that format, now let's say, for example, if your notice is not specifying the reason, like what is the reason which is being identified for selection of scrutiny, or what is the reason that your case is for limited scrutiny, that only on particular point, as I gave you an example of large remittances in foreign currency, that is called one issue, that is limited scrutiny. And if they tell you in the notice that it is a complete scrutiny, that means they can verify each and every line item of your balance sheet, whether it may be purchases, whether it may be sales, whether it may be your loans which are there, unsecured loans, secured loans, any interest provisions you have made. So it is very much important that whatever notice you have been issued under 143.2 is complying with the guidelines which are issued by the CBDT circular. That is the format of 143.2 notice is important. There are various judicial pronouncements wherein just merely the format of 143.2 notice was not complied as per the CBDT circular, and notices have been quashed on that basis. So the format of notice and the time barring of notice becomes very, very much crucial to determine that what is the exact scenario and why is your return selected for scrutiny. Now coming forward, now what happens in the further notices? Once, let's say for example, I'm giving at the start of we'll take one example. Mr. A, he has filed his return of income on 30th of July 2024. He has business income. During the year, he has earned business income. He has earned income from other sources, and he has even earned income from house property during that year under consideration. Now, due to some of the issues, he was issued notice. His case was selected for scrutiny proceedings under 143.2 of Income Tax Act. And at the time when the 143.2 notice was issued, the reason mentioned in the 143.2 notice was there were many properties on which rental income should have been offered, that is deemed rental income should have been offered, but unfortunately he has not offered those rental income. That was an issue which was observed by the department, and because that person, Mr. A, is holding many properties, so that issue has come up, and the reason for selection of scrutiny is non-offering of rental income on all the properties as per the data available with the income tax department. Now you now first you will check whether the notice under 143.2 is issued within the timeline or not. Second, you will check whether the notice under 143.2 is complying with the CBDT circular's format or not. If at all these two parameters are met and they are duly complied, then you file your reply to the 143.2 notice. The next notice, which would be issued by the Income Tax Department, would be of 142.1 under 142.1 of the Income Tax Act. Will specifically provide you the questionnaires or what all questions they want to ask you. So they will be providing you the list of questions. After that, after this notice, they'll be providing the list of questions. You have to comply to that notice. After you filing reply to 142.1 notice, they'll, if at all it is required, they have some further more questions to ask. They'll issue you one more 142.1 questions based on your previous replies, whichever you have filed. Now, after you filing all those replies to 143.2, 142.1, you will be issued a show cause notice. If at all an officer wishes to, based on your submissions which are made, he is feeling that this issue is there, like he has not offered rental income. So he'll ask you, please tell me, please show cause as to why the rental income amounting to, let's say for example, 25 lakhs in case of property A should not be added to your total income, Then we have this is a reason which he has observed, and he has determined a show cause notice after verifying your submissions, and he has come up with that show cause notice. Now that show cause notice in normal assessment, it is issued under section 143.3, because your order would be passed under 143.3, so the show cause notice comes under 143.3 of the Income Tax Act. After you file your returns, like submissions with respect to that show cause, you can even grant an opportunity, you can even request them for granting an opportunity for video conferencing, because if your cases are not centralized, then this becomes a faceless proceedings. So you can always request the assessing officers by drafting them a return request, seeking for video conferencing, so you can explain entire matter, entire brief of the case, even verbally, like besides providing submissions, you can explain them one to one, what is the exact issue and what are your standings and what are your claims to in that, and why that income should not be added to your total income. So after you receive a show cause notice, you file the reply, you even ask for a video conferencing. Even after video conferencing, at times some officer come up with some requirements, like you provide us these documents additionally, and then they tell us to provide those documents, and we furnish those replies, and thereafter they pass the order, whatever after verification of submissions which have been filed by us, they then pass the order. Now, what is that order? Order is nothing but order under section 143 of the Income Tax Act. Now that again comes with a time bound within 12 months from the end of the assessment year in which income was assessable. That means nothing but first you are getting notice of selection of scrutiny 30th June 2025. So your this entire after the end of this year, that is 31st March 2026, upcoming 31st March 2026 is the deadline for normal scrutiny proceedings as well. Sorry, normal assessment proceedings as well. So if any of your clients are subject to any scrutiny proceedings. So very well, you should be very well aware that there would be n number of notices which would be coming up now, because department always has a habit of sending notices at a very later stage. So December, Jan, Feb, and March. These 3 to 4 months are very crucial months. If your client is ever subject to any such notices, it is very much advisable that you comply with all the notices, because non-compliance to notices also invites penalty. It shows that appellant is not cooperating at all, and at times if the officer he has given you 3 4 opportunities, he might suo moto pass an order making the additions. So it is very much advisable that if any of the client is subject to any of the scrutiny proceedings, all the replies are duly made within the time bound manner, and that timeline is actually 31st of March 2026. The assessing officer is duty bound to pass the order under within 12 months, that is 31st of March 2026, in normal scenarios. However, there are some exceptions to that. If you have got a stay from High Court or ITAT on XYZ issues, there are a couple of issues which could be there. You have filed an appeal on some of the ground before High Court, or you have filed a writ petition. In that scenarios, the deadlines may get extended as applicable. But in general scenario, these are the timelines. If there is no stay application, or if there is no writ petition, or if there is no special conditions is being attached, then the time bound remains strictly to this, that is 12 months from the end of assessment year. Now this becomes the normal regular assessment and scrutiny proceedings. Now let's say, for example, in the same financial year 2023-24, some assessee, they have not got any notice only. They are sitting like they are very much relaxed. Okay, this time is now gone. Now we can sit relaxed. Now we might not receive notice. Like we will not receive notice at all. Now having that perception is completely wrong, because there is still an opportunity for the income tax authorities to do reassessment proceedings. Although in today's topic we're not covering reassessment proceedings, but I'm just giving you just one example, that it is not that once your case is not selected for assessment proceedings, you can just sit relaxed. No, it is not that way. The reassessment proceedings can also be initiated in case there is like the specific information which is available with the department. Then the reassessment proceedings can also be initiated, and the timeline, the latest amended timeline, are 3 years from the end of relevant assessment year. And if your income escapement is more than 50 lakhs, then they can reopen your case. That is, reassessment proceedings can be initiated for 5 years from the end of relevant assessment year. So these are basically the timelines which will be strictly followed by both, that is income tax department and appellant also has to duly comply, so that there is no negative impact. Now suppose appellant is not having a very, he's not aware about any of the notices which are being issued. So if he is not cooperating or he is not aware, that ignorance of law is not excused over here, and it would be very much difficult for the appellant, because the order would be passed making the additions, even if it would be a very genuine case, then to the income tax department at times don't consider that things, and they just keep on giving opportunities, and if you're not complying, it comes up with a heavy demand. Then that demand is reflecting on the income tax portal, and then it becomes very much difficult for assessee to get go to CIT appeals, file CIT submissions, get the order giving effect of that CIT order, then delete the demand from the income tax portal, and many such things. So it is very much always advisable that if there are any of the notices which are being issued, if the client's email ID is not active, it is advisable to check the e-proceedings tab, check the response to outstanding demand tab. If at all there are any such notices which have come up, duly comply the same. Then moving on to rectification under 154. Again, yeah, now let's say for example, you have got an intimation under 143(1). Now you claimed in your income tax return at the time of filing your income tax return under 139(1), you claimed a TDS credit of, let's say for example, 10,000 rupees. Now at the time when you were filing your return of income, one of the client who was having whose TDS you were claiming, let's say for example, his TDS value was 5,000 rupees. He had not filed his TDS return, and you told him that now I want to file my return of income. I am claiming that 5,000 TDS credit, and he had assured you that I will file my revised return. So what you were of the view that he'll file his revised return, I'll get that 5,000 TDS credit. I'll claim in my return of income 10,000, that is 5,000, which was originally getting reflected in 26 AS, and additional 5,000 I will claim it right now, because if I do not claim it, I will lose the claim. So I claimed it, and meanwhile the relevant client who was supposed to revise his TDS return, he told that he gave me an assurance that he will revise his TDS return, and henceforth I claimed a TDS credit of 10,000 rupees. Now, unfortunately, that client failed to file my revised return. Now, what happened? I claimed TDS credit of 10,000, and TDS credit of only 5,000 was getting reflected in my 26 years. Now, income tax department at the time of, like, CPC authorities at the time of processing your income tax return, they'll not give you any TDS credit more than what is reflecting in your 26 years. So now you got only TDS credit of 5,000 rupees, which was reflecting in your 26 AS. And because of additional claim made by you for TDS credit, that 5,000 claim was lost. Like for the meanwhile, an intimation under 143(1) came up with a additional demand, because you did not claim that, you claimed additional TDS credit. Now you approach that, you again told him that, sir, sir or ma'am, why haven't you filed your revised return? Because of you not filing your revised return, I have not got that claim. So now, even you, after you insisting the client files up the revised return, and now in 26 AS, after you getting intimation order that TDS credit is getting reflected. Now you want to claim that. So what option do you have? You should immediately file your rectification request under 154 on the income tax portal. There are as soon as you log on to the income tax portal, under the services tab, you have an option for filing rectification. There are three options over there: rectification of order passed by CIT, that is CIT appeals, rectification of order passed by CPC, and rectification of appellate orders. So now this intimation under 143(1) is actually passed by CPC. Just click on rectification of order passed by CPC. Click on the relevant assessment here, which you want to rectify. Like, let's say, for example, it is financial year 23-24, that is assessment year 24-25. Select the drop down of assessment year 24-25. Again, you will have three options. TDS credit mismatch or upload JSON file again, or you have to draft one reply that why you disagree with this thing, like why you disagree with the demand or what is the reason for filing rectification. Therein, you can just click on TDS credit mismatch, put all the relevant details required in that table, and then it could be uploaded, and then your return again gets reprocessed. That is rectified return. Rectification gets reprocessed, and you receive an order under Section 154 of the Income Tax Act. Now, what is the time limit for this rectification? It is within 4 years from the end of the financial year in which order sought to be amended is passed. Now, let's say, for example, the intimation is received on 31st of December 2024, and rectification can be filed till 31st of March 2029. Now, it is a very important point here again that rectification, the opportunity to file rectification is available not only with the appellant, like assessee, but if at all, any times in any of the at any stage, if assessing officer finds that there is some need of rectification or because of some issues he has raised a demand of wrong amount and he wants to rectify it, this timeline is also available for assessing officers. Even assessing officers can opt for rectification under Section 154 of the Income Tax Act. It is not that only appellant, that was only assessee can opt for these timelines. Now, what happened is now you have like these all things were like how what are the timelines for filing rectification for getting the order under Section 143 and all those. Now, let's say for example, now all these orders which have come up, order under 143 or rectification order is giving you still giving you a demand payable which is incorrect, and intimation order is also giving you a demand which is incorrect. Now, all these becomes an appealable order, and you can file your appeals against this order. If you are not satisfied with the demand which is being raised by the income tax authorities, you can file appeals to the first appellate authority, that is CIT appeal, that is Commissioner of Income Tax, and the deadline for filing appeal is within 30 days from the date of service of notice. Now, here, what is important is the service of notice is very important in this scenario. So you basically have to see that when is the order, when is the notice, when is the order served basically. Order under 143, let's say for example, the order is dated 143's order is dated 29th of March 2025, let's say for example, and that order has been received by you on email or by physical delivery on 31st of March 2025. So the 30 days period are to be started from the date of service. Now service, there's a definition prescribed in the Income Tax Act how service is to be treated, like service of notice by date of receipt by email or by physical delivery, or there are different scenarios in what in that different scenarios you will have to determine the word service, and accordingly from the date of service you get 30 days to file your CIT appeals before the Commissioner of Income Tax Act. So you have to file within that time bound, and unfortunately if you have missed that timeline, you can still file your appeal by filing a condonation of delay application with the Commissioner of Income Tax Act, and there should be sufficient cause while filing the appeal with a condonation of delay. If at all there is a sufficient cause, your appeal gets admitted, and thereafter you receive notices for hearing from the Commissioner of Income Tax. Now, the first appellate authority in the income tax is Commissioner of Income Tax. Second appellate authority comes income tax, that is IT, that is Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Now, the time limit has actually been revised like in the last budget only. Up to 30th of September 2024, the time limit for filing ITAT appeal was 60 days from the date of service of order. Now, date of service is very much important in all the scenarios at all levels, whether it might be Commissioner of Income Tax, that is the first appellate authority, or it is Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, that is the second appellate authority, or High Court. It starts from the date of service. So, or whatever is the mode of delivery, the day when you receive that, the timeline of 30, 60, 120 days respectively, that is Commissioner of Income Tax, ITAT, and High Court accordingly starts. So Earlier IDAT's limit was up to 30th September. It was 60 days from the date of service of order, and with effect from 1st October, it is within 2 months from the end of the month in which orders sought to be appealed against is communicated. So the timeline has changed to a smaller extent of filing of IDAT appeal, and filing of High Court appeal if it is 120 days from the date of service of order to be appealed. Now, it is very much, again, an important point. These timelines are same for both filing of appeals by appellant himself, or if the department wishes to go for ITAT or High Court against your orders, against your favorable orders. Now, you have got a favorable order, then department also has a right to go against that order. And if you have got an against order, if you wish to go, then also these are the timelines. So the timelines for the department goes or you go, the timeline both the scenarios. This is basically a smaller aspect on how appeals, at what levels appeals are to be filed, and what are the timelines associated with that. Now, basically, now coming to the very important and crucial topic, which I would like to bring that into the notice, is that nowadays, if you have ever come across, every of your clients might have been receiving calls from income tax department stating that you have an response to, you have outstanding demand which is reflecting on your income tax portal. So kindly comply with their response to outstanding demand. So, and you, under the e-proceedings tab on the income tax portal, there are several issue letters which have been issued to the appellant stating that you have n number of demand. We request you to kindly let us know what are the reasons for such demand, or what actions you have taken against this demand. Are they being paid, or you are under appeal, or you have been granted stay from the authorities, or whatever is the relevant reason. Now, it is very much advisable that you basically take care of all these compliances. You are filing response to outstanding demand. You are filing the replies in the e-proceedings tab. You are even contacting your assessing officer, like we on the income tax portal under jurisdiction details. We have an email ID of our jurisdictional assessing officer. You can mail the entire piece as well, like what are the submissions, the reasons for outstanding demand. You can mail him that these are the reasons for my outstanding demand, and I have taken all these actions till date, or they are under process, or one is at an appeal stage. In another case, I have gotten stay. In third case, I have filed a rectification. So whatever are your issues, you should actually submit it, because I'll going forward, I'll tell you what are the consequences of not submitting these responses, and how harsh that could be for a person if they are not complying with all those things. Firstly, in this slide, I have tried to incorporate like what are the process. If you wish to file your replies, how are you supposed to do it? See, after logging onto the income tax portal, click on the pending actions tab, and under the pending actions tab, we have the drop down named as response to outstanding demand. Check for which relevant assessment the demand is being raised. Check the section code of demand. Like what is the section code under which demand is being raised? Take out the relevant order copies of those demand, assess them, like what actions you have taken, or what compliances you have made till date, or whatever is the issue. Then file, either if you agree with the demand, you have an option pay now, make the respective payment, and or else you can second have, if you do not agree with the demand, you have an option submit response, agree with them, like partially agree or partially disagree, or agree with demand or disagree. So you can accordingly select the relevant response. Then you have to, whatever is your response which you have thought that appeal is being filed or stay is granted, or whatsoever is your communication you want to communicate to the income tax department, please make sure that you are submitting the response. Now, what is happening at point in time, I have submitted my response to outstanding demand in March 2024, let's say, for example. Now, that's demand after me submitting my response. That demand, if at all my submissions were right, I thought that this demand should have been deleted, because I have made an accurate submission to this reply, and this demand should actually not still stand on my income tax portal. Now, when I'm still receiving notices in December 2025, that demand is still getting reflected. Now you again have to resubmit the response. If that same demand is again issued to you via issue letter and the e-proceedings tab, then again you put and reply over there that these are the number of actions which you have been taken, and still the demand is not getting reflected, then you can go over there and submit responses. You can even file grievances on income tax portal if this is a consistent issue which you are being facing. If despite doing all these three things, you are still the assessing officer or the CPC has not taken your actions, we still have one more option, that is filing of CP-gram. You can very well always file CP-gram for all these outstanding demands, stating all the actions, like steps you have taken for deletion of demand from day one till now. You can submit the entire records. It is nothing but CP-gram is in government portal only, centralized public grievance redressal program. So therein, if you just file your grievance, that grievance goes to your jurisdiction assessing officer. Then jurisdiction assessing officer will verify that you have filed a CP-gram, and then he'll take an immediate action against your case. If at all he is not responding, then you can even have an option for filing CP-gram to the with all your details. Like you just have to register within it. Take the registration hardly takes 10 to 15 minutes. After registering, you can enter all your details with the respect of client, that these are my details. I am facing this issue. I have replied a couple of times, but there is no response, and there is no one who is relating the demand. So that CP-gram grievance also helps at time to take quicker actions. After that, I have just returned the summer as what I told you. First, you check why the demand is being raised, then know the details of demands which are being raised. Click on the pending actions tab on the e-proceedings, select the relevant assessment here, and you have to file your reply. If you disagree with demand, there are various options, that is whether appeal is filed. And at times when there is a very huge demand and that demand is actually very absurd and it is actually made without total application of mind, people also move to high pitched committee as well for stay of demand. That high pitched committee gives you an 100% stay. So if you have those copies, or if you have moved to IT80 for granting a stay, and if you have IT80's order, then file that stay copy over there. Like whatever relevant actions you have taken, please make sure that all those actions are even brought to the notice of income tax department on the income tax portal as well, because non compliance of this will lead to heavy problems for the for appellant or the assessee. So you can select the relevant drop down, whatever is there. After submitting, it is very much advisable that you take a screenshot of the reply which have been made, because at times there is a technical glitch and you do not have any proof that you have made the submission. So it is always advisable that you have screenshots. Now, what happens if you do not file your submit response to outstanding demand? There could be various reasons. There could be various issues which would come up. Your future refunds under the Income Tax Act, if at all that you have any future refunds upcoming, that would be adjusted. Nowadays, the very popular thing which is happening is they are attaching the bank accounts. So basically, if you are not submitting responses, or if you are not filing replies, then it is a very common practice these days that your bank accounts are getting attached. Or if at all your amount, the demand amount is very huge, then there could be attachment of your immovable properties as well. So in that scenario, you can just imagine how hazardous it is for the appellant if he is not taking the relevant action at the right point in time. And it is not that one of the bank account is attached, I'll think I'll open the next bank account and I'll make transactions in that. At times if their system has become so strong, no, so if even if you open that second bank account, no, they'll freeze your that account as well, even though there is no money lying in there. So it is very much important that you better pay attention to all these response to outstanding demands to avoid any of the consequences. Now, even once your bank account gets attached, then it becomes a very hell to defreeze those accounts. You have to go to your jurisdiction assessing officer, pay the relevant outstanding demand, make the relevant payment, provide him those challan copies, and he'll insist you that you have to make 20% of the demands payment. And actually, at the time of filing CIT appeal, if you wish to file CIT appeal, that is Form 35, as I told, within 30 days from the date of service of notice, it always comes up with payment of 20% of outstanding demand. Now, if you are in that appeal and you have not paid any penny rupee for that appeal, or nor you have granted any stay, you do not have any stay from the higher authorities, then there could be a possibility that there is a huge demand which is reflecting on income tax portal, and your CIT order is still pending, and you have not made any compliances on the income tax portal. There is a high probability that our bank accounts could be attached over here. So it is pretty much advisable that you are looking into all those factors and doing the necessary action at the right point in time. At times, people are getting calls from the income tax departments asking them the reasons for demand, like you have such outstanding demand, please reply, or please let us know till what date are you planning to make the payment. So basically, all those things happen. Ma'am, I'm audible. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
PPT is also visible, or it is not? Just a second. Now it is visible. Yeah. Sorry for that. Internet connection was lost. Sorry. So basically, you have to make sure that all those compliances to response to outstanding demand have been duly made. So after that, what happens is if you disagree with the demand, you can even file a rectification request with CPC online under section 154. Filing rectification request to jurisdiction assessing officer is also an option which is there available to you. So all those things are very much important. And if you wish to file your appeal, then as I communicated, that appeal is to be filed within 30 days from the date of receipt of order. Then I was telling you that 20 non-payment of 20% of demand, and if you do not have a stay, then that becomes again very much difficult, because you have to convince your officer that despite you not paying 20% of the demand, then you will have to make a stay application to your jurisdictional assessing officer. And it is not only jurisdictional assessing officer, but you have to mark CC to your relevant PCIT and CCIT authorities as well. Post that, they'll give you an order, like whether you are granted stay on this issue or not. If at all you wish, you can file an application to ITAT for granting stay. If at all you feel that your application, the additions made are totally null and void, you again still have an option for filing an application to high pitched assessment committee as well. You can file an application to high pitched assessment committee for granting stay. A most important provision which has been come up as per the provisions of section 230 of the Income Tax Act. Now this provision, this was issued again by CBDT instruction number 1 2024 dated 5th of Feb. Income tax clearance certificate would be required for Indian citizens regardless of purpose of travel, like is business, tourism, and education. In case of person who is traveling, leaving India, where the person has direct tax arrears exceeding 10 lakh rupees outstanding against him, which is not stayed by an income tax authority. Now this provision is actually there. This circular is already there, but till now it has not become that income tax department is still not paying more of attention to it. But let's say, for example, the day income tax department stays 100% attention and goes ahead of this provision, which is already there in CBDT instruction, how harmful it becomes for the appellant, if at all, if he has an outstanding demand of 10 lakhs, and if he wishes to travel outside India, then he needs to furnish an income tax clearance certificate. Now, besides not furnishing that income tax clearance certificate, it would become very much difficult for him to go outside. So Let's say, for example, there is one assessee who is actually traveling for business purposes or for tourism or for education or whatsoever purposes, but he has an outstanding demand exceeding 10 lakh on his income tax portal. Now, because of this outstanding demand, you will not be able to get an income tax clearance certificate if you are not duly complied with that. If you are duly providing reasons and if you are duly complying that all things, then it will be easier for you to get an income tax clearance certificate. If all those things are non-compliant or if you have never paid any attention to all those stuff, then getting this certificate would actually become very much difficult for you, and this would again bring out an hindrance on your whatsoever purpose of travel you are planning to travel. So it is very much crucial that all these things are complied. This, as I told you, as we discussed, that if demand is confirmed, then you may file an appeal to CIT appeal, that is form 35, within 30 days from service of notice, to ITAT within 60 days from service of notice, and to High Court within 120 days from service of notice. Then again, why appeal filing is important. Now let's say, for example, the filing of appeal at times becomes very much crucial. Now, say for example, there was a scheme which was introduced by the income tax department known as Vivad Se Vishwas. It was earlier Vivad Se Vishwas 1 and Vivad Se Vishwas 2. That is, second was Vivad Se Vishwas 1 was 2020, and second Vivad Se Vishwas was Vivad Se Vishwas 2024. Now, the foremost condition in that Vivad Se Vishwas is that your appeal should be pending. So if at all, if you're not taken any actions and there is some scheme which is being introduced by the income tax department and you want to take benefit of that schemes, if at all, now Vivad Se Vishwas 2024 is already lapsed. But if at all, why appeal filing is important is that if department comes up with any such schemes and you have an outstanding demand, then if you are filing an appeal and if you are falling within that let's say for example cut-off date, then you can always take benefit of all those schemes as well. So filing of appeals, rightly taking actions against the outstanding demand are again very important. If any such schemes are being introduced, then you can take benefit of those schemes in near future as well. So that was one of the important point as well. Now what happens, at times, what happened, people are actually getting CIT orders. You filed a CIT appeal, that is appeal with the first level authorities. You got a CIT order under section 250. Now that CIT order deleted your demand, like deleted your additions, and henceforth correspondingly your demand needs to be deleted. Now there was an addition, let's say for example, of 20 lakhs which was made to my total income, and let's say for example that raised me a demand of additional demand of 8 lakh rupees. Now, what happened? I got an order from the CIT authorities that my demand has got additions have been got deleted, but I failed to upload on the income tax portal or failed to get an order giving effect of that order. Now, what happens at point in times, those demand are being reflected on my income tax portal since long time, and at times the demand of 8 lakh rupees which was there, the demand was actually reduced. Has my refunds of forthcoming years were actually adjusted. Now, let's say for example, financial year 21-22's demand was 8 lakh rupees. Now I had a refund of financial year 22-23, and financial year 23-24 also I had a refund. The financial year 22-23 refund was 5 lakh rupees, and financial year 23-24's refund was 7 lakh rupees. Now what happened, just because I had not paid 20% demand at the time of filing CIT appeal, my next 2 years refund got adjusted against that outstanding demand, and I received CIT order, let's say for example on 3rd of December 2025. Now, what is happening is, now on the income tax portal, just because my refund has got adjusted against the outstanding demand, I am unable to see any demand on the income tax portal because my entire refund of 2 years have got adjusted against this outstanding demand. But it is very crucial now. I have to get those money back because that demand is actually not now upholding because my additions which are there on because of these demand have got deleted. So at that point in time, you have to file order giving effect to the income tax authorities, reflecting that, see, my additions have got deleted. My demand is now no more liable, like the demand is now no more holding. So I would request you that whatever refunds you have adjusted, please give me back my interest. Now this order giving effect could be done online as well on the income tax portal, and it could be done offline as well. You can write manual letters to a jurisdictional assessing officer with the details that these were the order against which appeal was filed. And after filing the appealable authority, that is Commissioner of Income Tax, has granted a favorable order, and now you are seeking refund. That is order, which is the order giving effect application, and accordingly, then you get refund of the years which have been adjusted, and your demand also gets deleted for that respective year. So you can do that as well. And as I brought to your notice about the CP gram, that if your response to outstanding demand, you have taken actions, and those response to outstanding demand are still reflecting and not got deleted, you still have an option to file grievances on this platform as well, besides filing grievances purely on the income tax portal. I've just listed down some of the orders which can be appealed at the first level, that is Joint Commissioner of Income Tax and Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals. These are those orders which can be appealed. Now, if you have orders under all these relevant sections, then you can file appeal to Joint Commissioner of Appeals or Joint Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals or CIT appeals, whatever designation. And these are all the appealable orders before the CIT authorities. These are the list of orders. Since we have shortage of time, we cannot go to each and every detail of order, like what is that order speaking on. Now we come to this. I just told you that 30 days to be reckoned from where. So these I have mentioned here. In case if the appeal is relating to section 48, then 30 days have to be reckoned from where. If it is relating to assessment or penalty, it is starting from date of service of demand. Now, what is the service of notice of demand is actually again defined in the Income Tax Act in the section what is mode of delivery. So accordingly, you can interpret from there, like what is the service of notice of demand in your relevant case, because that service of notice of demand differs from case to case because it is email. Mostly nowadays all cases are mostly considered from email service of notice. So if you have received an email, the date you have received an email is counted as service of notice of demand. Earlier there used to be hand delivery as well, so hand delivery actually used to happen after later days than the order. So let's say for example the order is dated 30th of March 2025, and the hand delivery might have happened on 15th or 18th of April whatsoever. So hand delivery 15th or 18th of April whatsoever is the date, then the 30 days start from that date, 15th 18th April or whatsoever date you actually physically received that document. Or in any other case, the date on which intimation of the order which we are sorting to revise is being served or received. Now there is some basic fees which are associated if you wish to file your appeal with the first level of the authority, that is Commissioner of Income Tax or JCIT. If your assessed income is less than or equal to 1 lakh, it is 250. There are slabs which have been basically designed more than 1 lakh, but less than 2 lakh 500 and more than 2 lakh 1000. And if you are filing any penalty appeal, it is a flat 250 rupees payment. So now accordingly, these are again the list of orders against which appeal can be filed at ITAT, like which order. So first level of authority is Commissioner of Income Tax, second is ITAT, third is High Court. So ITAT orders are basically those which are passed by Commissioner of Income Tax or a authority which is at the same level to Commissioner of Income Tax. So I have just listed down again those orders which are the appealable orders in case of taxpayers for filing appeals at ITAT level. Now, as I told you, the time limit has been discussed earlier as well, that it was up to 30th September. The time limit was within 60 days, and there has been a small change with effect from 1st October, that is within 2 months from the end of the month, in which the order which we are supposed to be appealed is communicated, served, or received, or whatsoever is that word, like whenever you're receiving it. Now, what is the fees again for filing of ITAT appeal? If your assessed income is up to 1 lakh, it is 500. It is more than 1 lakh, but up to 2 lakhs, it is 1500, and more than 2 lakh, then 1% of assessed income. But the max cap for filing ITAT appeal is 10,000 rupees. So these are the basically described fees if you wish to file an ITAT appeal. Now, again, I have listed down orders against which appeal can be filed to a high court. Now, it is a very important point that and high court is the fact-finding authority. So, if the high court is satisfied, say if you could, I could just take your 2 minutes more here. An appeal shall lie to high court until every order passed in appeal by the tribunal before the date of establishment of national tax tribunal if High Court is satisfied that the case involves a substantial question of law. Now that is very much important when you are filing an appeal to High Court that this condition of substantial question of law is also getting satisfied because High Court is again known as a final fact-finding authority as well. So determining that this case involves a substantial question of law or not is very much crucial before you file the appeal to High Court. Again, the timeline associated is 120 days, as we discussed earlier as well. And this sums up the presentation of scrutiny and assessments in Income Tax Act. Although this being a very wider topic, getting them into presentation for 1 hour is actually very much difficult because this is a very vast topic and we still have reassessments, we still have different type of assessment, is protective assessments, substantive assessments, and all those stuffs as well. So I tried to cover as much I could cover in the 1 hour, which I thought that this is very much relevant for the viewers. So I hope this would have brought some enhancement to your knowledge. And thanks for the opportunity to present as a speaker in this for this topic as well. Thank you. Thanks to all the participants who have been here and patiently listening for an hour. Thank you to those people as well.
Ma'am, there is one question.
Yeah.
If response is given to 139.9, still no response from CPC, what is the course of action?
So basically, you have filed a defective return, and you have filed defective return. You have filed response to outstanding demand. Is that like basically after filing a response to one defective notice, if you're still not receiving any response, you can file again over here. You can file grievances to the income tax portal, and you can even file CP-gram. And if you're still not receiving any reward, there are specific email IDs of CPC which have been given down. Intimations at intimation.cpc's email ID are given on the income tax portal itself. You can just drop down your emails on those email IDs, specifying your name, PAN, and the issue which you are facing, that you have filed response to 139.9 and still there is no reward. Then you can drop emails to that respective email IDs. Then you can ask them to connect to the officers, and then you can get your result, get your grievances solved.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable knowledge with us. Thank you so much for the wonderful session, and thank you to our wonderful audience for being patient listener. Thank you so much, one and all. Now over to you, Saurabh sir.
It's a dominant Sunekri.
Shubham, it's now your turn. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. After the great session by Namrata ma'am, now we have Madhurika Raghuraman ma'am.
I'm so sorry, ma'am. Shubham, please, your voice is not audible, ma'am. Please speak a bit louder, ma'am.
Am I audible now? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. All right. So now, after the wonderful session from Namrata ma'am, we have Madhurika Raghuraman ma'am with us, and she's CA, FRM, and DIP IFRS certified. She's finance professional with experience in risk management and financial reporting at Barclays and Standard Chartered. She's also a seasoned soft skill and finance trainer for ICAI, ICSI, IIBF, and NACIN. She blends strong technical expertise with impactful training, mentorship, and content creation.
So we welcome you, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Am I audible, by the way?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you, ICAI, the Women and Young Members Excellence Committee, and the lovely audience to join us today. Let me just share my screen. Kindly confirm if my screen is visible. Just give me a second.
Yes, it is visible.
All right. Great, great. So shall I start the session, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Great. Thank you very much. A very good evening again to all of them present here. I'm sitting here in Chennai with the lovely weather. There is a cyclone intimated, but the weather is great. So I hope you guys are finding your comfort zone because the next 1 hour is for us to understand ourselves. So let's just dive into the topic immediately. So when we talk about self, right, self-understanding, uh, we talk about ourselves on the physical format, right? Few people talk about like how they look, or a few people talk about their personality traits, and a few of them talk about their spirituality, a few on their cognitive intelligence, and few of them on their emotional fronts. But when we talk about self as a concept, or myself as a concept, then it includes all these components into a single umbrella bucket. So we are going to see today's session is more on the analysis part of it. But before we start analysis, we have to understand that there are 4 stages before going into the analysis part, and those are self-understanding, awareness, concept, and actualization. Now, just to give a brief of what these 4 are, self-understanding is just to give you an idea. Now, we know that we have a voice from inside, like we call that as an inner critic. And we also have the outside world talking to us, be it the family, friends, just the external community. All these are people from the external world trying to talk to us. And we also have an inner voice inside ourselves as well. Uh, Understanding is basically that you as an entity, you are singular, and you have all these voices around you, including yourself, and you have to understand where you want to fit, right? So for example, if someone is telling me that, oh, you're looking very dull today, are you fine? Is everything fine with you? And what if today I'm the brightest from inside, right? I'm so chirpy and happy. But from the external part, where the way I look, people are finding something which makes them feel like I'm looking dull, right? So this ideation, so the minute someone tells that, okay, what happened? Are you fine? We immediately silence our inner voice and we start believing what they're saying, right? So the conviction changes. So understanding is the fact that we are a singular entity and the voices around us are trying to control and manipulate us. So there is a little bit of a distinction. So that is an example that I can give for understanding. Awareness is what we're going to talk in detail today, which is the analysis part, where we have multiple ways of how to analyze ourselves a little bit in a deeper level. Self-concept is nothing but labeling. So we are very used to saying that I'm an extrovert, or I'm a social butterfly, and I love to go out. I love to go at least like twice a week or whatever, right? All these are labelings that we give ourselves. That is called a self-concept. Now, a lot of the people, without going through understanding and awareness, they immediately jump into the concept. So, what if you're a person who likes to set boundaries? What if you're a person who likes to, say, end your day by around 8 p.m. and you cannot call yourself as an extrovert there, right? So, concept comes only after you fully understand and analyze yourself. And the last one is actualization. Actualization means, like the name suggests, it's reaching your highest potential. So you have to understand that it's the 3 steps after which the actualization can eventually happen, because you have to know who you are. You have to understand what the world is giving you. You have to understand that the concept, what you're giving you, is right or not. So you have to fit the concept. And suppose if you want to be, say, you don't want to be an ambivert, you fully want to go to the public, right? You want to become an extrovert. So it's only after the right concept can you bridge the gap of actualization. Now, this is just a brief of understanding who you are. Now, state of being is a verbal terminology a lot of people use without having to understand what exactly it is. Now, for example, right now we are at 4:05 and we have just started the session. So you could possibly be in a very ecstatic state right now. For example, you're very overwhelmed and very enthusiastic to understand what the next 45 minutes to 1 hour is going to bring you, right? Or you could be that very slumpy mode, very, kind of lazy because of the weather, whatever extra conditions. Or you want to have a productive day, etc. Like there are so many things that you're feeling right now, right? So a state of being is nothing but what you want to bring to the table, what kind of personality shade do you want to bring to the table at the moment, right? Let me give you an example. Certain people say that I always want to be happy in life. Now, want to be happy, meaning they are not happy at the moment, right? It's an implied derivative. So if you want to be happy, what are the components that is going to help you be happy? You can listen to music. You can, if you are a person who's a workaholic, then good productive work, good scheduled meetings, getting the work done at the right time, punctuality, all these components could give you that happiness. Or if it's a weekend, then spending quality time with the family, right? Or if you want to go out with your friends, all these are components that can give you happiness, which can derive the happiness. So happiness is not a state. Okay, I'm just trying to break the myth. Happiness is not a state. You being a particular version at this moment is a state. So if you want to change the state, then you'll have to bring the components along. Again, another example. Right now, if I have to produce a good session, then my volume, like for example, my sound should be at the right level, and my PPT should be visible to all of you, right? And there should not be any technical glitches like the electricity going out, network having some issue. So these are all components that will build the session in its momentum, where the output would be great, where everyone will be like, yeah, the 4 to 5 session was helpful. I was able to take some keynotes from the session. But for that to happen, all these components should fall in place. Suppose if my volume is not great, then irrespective of my content, irrespective of the visibility of the content, you still will not feel great at the end of the session, right? So you wanting to be a certain you if you want to be happy, if that is the outcome you want, then the state of being is what are the components you want in order for that establishment to happen, right? Now we all know there is a method called onion peel. What it means is rather, um, the outlay of what we are projecting right now is not the cost. Certain people will have a lot of traumas in their life, where if you go for therapy, a lot of the therapists, the psychologists, they'll all dig deep to understand what actually caused you to emote a certain way. So anger, for example, if you're angry, certain people say that it's a hormonal issue, or you probably, like, you provoked me a certain way to invoke that anger in me. So that's the very superficial layer. If you have to understand the core reason as to what caused you that anger, you'll have to, just like how you peel the onion to go to its roots, you'll have to start understanding your roots as to what is exactly triggering you, for you to get that anger in the first place. So onion peel is a method of self understanding the causes of you to feel any emotion. Just like I said, the first level of understanding, though this is not what we're going to see in the session, self understanding is the first phase of you understanding yourself. So a lot of people, uh, we kind of put the onus on another person to keep us happy, or to not invoke anger, to not provoke us. But if you ask any kind of therapist or psychologist, they'll say, as per rules of psychology, self understanding should come from within first. We should understand ourselves better before we expect someone else to understand us, right? So what are the different ways of us understanding is to understand what the voice is coming from within. As I said initially, there are two voices, one which is internal, second one which is external, right? So internal voice is more louder in our minds. It echoes a lot in our minds than what the external world says. Though it might feel to you right now that if someone talks to you, say after the session, if someone triggers you, it will affect you more. That is not the case. Our mind is the best manipulator. So you'll have to start understanding your inner voice. Similarly, you have to be uh, very open to rethink, because a lot of our grounding rules that has come from childhood, because of our parental behaviors, because of the community in which we were grown, and because of the schooling, because of the neighbors we had, etc., etc. A lot of reasons. We are brought up with certain beliefs, and sometimes in this digitized world, as the world is evolving, we have to be open to rethink. Now with the Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming up, a lot of new methodologies are being brought up to the parental world, in fact. So rethinking, basically, which is unlearning and relearning, is key for you to develop yourself. Similarly, you have to ask the right questions. If you had recently seen one of the podcasts by Nikhil Kamath with Elon Musk, which is just, I think, 2, 3 days back, it has come. You can go check that out. Elon Musk says that most of the right answers comes from the asking the right questions, right? So if you don't ask the right questions, then whatever answers you're expecting will not get matched. You will not get the right answers. So it's almost 99.99% true that if you're not getting the answers correct, that means your questions were wrong in the first place. So how is it linked to self-understanding? If you want to understand what is causing, for example, the anger in you, you'll have to ask the right questions for that answer to come. So if you're not asking the right questions, if you're not sitting with yourselves uh, at least 10-15 minutes a day to do introspection, then you'll not be able to even understand, leave of analyze. You can't even understand yourself. So if you can't do that job, then the world cannot understand you. So today we're not going to focus on understanding, rather on the self-analysis part, because this is more um, ways in which you can physically work on yourself. Now, if I say self-understanding, the only way someone can help you to understand yourself is you. No other person can help understand yourself better than you, right? So for the self understanding part, I would suggest that sit with yourself in a, a calmer spot in your house, either when you start the day or when you end the day, and make sure that you don't have any digital disturbances or any other disturbances. And if you want to listen to, say, any lo-fi music, you can just kind of close your eyes. You don't have to meditate, and ask yourself questions on how your day went, and what kind of emotions you had through the day, what you thought went well, where did you outperform, and what are the places where you thought you would perform a particular way, but rather it went lopsided. You could have performed well. And what are just the questions of how the day went with yourself, right? You're your best friend. So these questions will start giving you answers. And from each answer, you can then ask another question. So self understanding comes from you sitting with yourself, giving yourself the time to understand yourself better. Now, coming for the analysis part, today I'm going to focus on 20 different methodologies of how you can analyze, though I would not suggest you to immediately start off with all the ways, all at once. You can probably start off with 3 or 4 at a time, and work out a few and take that for 3, 4 months and make that a habit. And once you're like set with the 3 or 4 that you selected, then you can move on to the next lot, right? So the first, and nothing in the any order mentioned, you can start off with any methods. The first one that has worked for me great is the PMS, which is called the personal mission statement. Now, what is PMS? For example, we all have dreams and goals, right? Long-term goals. How does a goal work is, you have a long-term vision, say in the next 10 years. You want to achieve a particular thing in a particular, say, if it's financial goals or non-financials, if it's a familial goal or anything for that matter, personal, professional. Pick a goal which is long-term in nature and make it as a SMART goal, which is SMART, meaning it should be specific in nature, it should be measurable, and it should be attainable, and it should be relevant and time bound, right? So make it SMART goal. And once a long term goal is all set, then you'll have to create milestones for the same, which is nothing but the short term goals. So in the next 1 year, what are you going to do for that long term vision to come true? And once that 1 year is over, you sit with yourself and see if you've achieved that goal. And if you have not, then where can you improve? And then set the next 1 year's goal. So this is a short term goal for the long term vision. always remember you'll have to set the long-term vision first. You cannot start off short-term and then see where the short-term takes you, right? That means you're living life in its flow, and that is also fine. But for people who'd like to have a particular long-term dream come true, then you'll have to have the dream first, which is long-term in nature, and then ascertain how many short terms do you want and keep the goals accordingly. Now, PMS is a subversion of the short term goals, meaning if your short term goal is 1 year in nature, you'll have to create sub milestones for every 1 month or every quarter or whatever, however you want to derive its milestones. You'll have to create sub milestones. And for personal mission statement, if you, for example, take a quarterly basis and there are 4 quarters in a year. So before the quarter begins, so 2026, we are in the greatest example. Before 2026 begins, say by December end, if you choose a quarterly milestone, sub milestone, then on a daily basis, what are you going to do for that quarter goal to get achieved? So you will have to write it down. And you can, if you feel like, you cannot spend all this the entire quarter, meaning all 7 days a week for the goal, you will have an idea, right? For the 3 months, which is first quarter, as to how many 3 4 months, as to what your schedule looks like. So accordingly you can write, for example, if you want to spend only 2 days a week for that goal, go ahead, but make sure that your days are fixed, your timings are fixed, and what you're going to do in the timing is also fixed. So you're not going to let the world take its ride on you. Rather, you are going to set the timeline for that particular sub milestone to get achieved. So PMS is a very strategic, very time bound, an exact measure of what you're going to do on a daily basis for that particular short milestone to get achieved for that short term goal. So the layers are PMS, short term goal, and then long term goal. But we're going to work on the reverse order, where we set the long term goal, then we create the short term goal, and then the PMS. So, funnily enough, we always have this 1 minute goals and praising, where just to start off with, after the session gets over, you can just randomly, create a 1 minute goal. So take your phone or a timer, set 1 minute on that device, and just say that, okay, I want to jog for a minute, right? So that's your goal. And let the timer start, and then just jog. You don't have to think anything, just start jogging. And the minute, if after the minute is over, you'll have to praise yourself for that 1 minute, not necessarily clap, but praise in the level that you feel you've done it, right? So these are small techniques that you can motivate yourself in order for it to get achieved. So that's the first analyzing tool you can do for your goals to get achieved, right? Now, the second tool is SWOT analysis. Now, I'm not going to spend so much time here because all of us know what SWOT stands for: strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. But not necessarily do we put it into practice. That's the main, sad area. We all know what the theory says, but we don't put it into practicality most of the times. So, few people in their lives always play on their strengths, and few people would like to turn their weaknesses into strengths. I would suggest that don't make your weakness too apparent for the world to take advantage of, and don't make your strength so loud that you are undermining or putting another person down by using your strengths. So as long as you're able to keep both in its balance, then no one can touch in your area, whatever area that you choose. So what are the different questions, for example, under strengths and weaknesses you can ask, right? So under strengths, you can ask, what are the things that you're really good at, where you feel you're good at it? So internally, you feel that way. And what are the skills that other people recognize you for, which is externally validated? And where do you think that most of the other people can do better, but you already have talent and you get recognized and rewarded for that you feel so proud and satisfied? So these are the few questions that you can ask to understand your strengths better. As for the weaknesses, it's not necessarily a negative thing, because all of us are born with certain areas that we have to improve on, and there's nothing wrong, there's no shame in it, right? So just to understand where your weaknesses lie, you can ask, what are the things that you find difficult doing, what are the things that you procrastinate, what are the things that you dread doing in a day, and what are the aspects of personality that other people do not give you a job, they do not allocate the tasks for you and all that. So these are the different ways in which you can understand what your weaknesses are. The core reason of understanding your weaknesses is not necessarily to change it into a strength, but before the world considers your weakness as a trap, right? You have to have a safeguard. You have to shield yourself. So that's why it's highly important to understand your weaknesses before the world, spots it for you. Now, again, this is just a small, I'll give you a minute to do this. Um, Try taking a sheet of paper or your phone, whichever is closer to you, and write 5 adjectives, just singular words of your strengths and weaknesses. So 5 words of strengths and 5 words for weaknesses. And when I say weaknesses, as again, I'm repeating, these are not things that you should feel ashamed of, but things that you probably want to improve on, right? So I'll just give you quickly some 20-30 seconds where you can write 5, just singular words. I don't want sentences. 5 straight, simple words in your language of your strengths and 5 words for your weaknesses. And now, once you're done doing both, I want you to try and form a sentence using the 5 words of strengths into one sentence and 5 words of weaknesses into another sentence, right? And try to write 2 sentences, one for strengths and one for weaknesses, right? Can you just, I hope you can, you understand what I'm saying and you can start doing that just for an ideation point of view. I'll give you like 20-30 seconds. If you're not able to think of the words in this few seconds, you can again take it as a fun activity that you can do post session as well. There's no hard and fast rule for you to like stress yourself out to find those 5 words. I hope uh, at least few of you have completed that activity. If not, you can take it post the session as well. Another thing I would like you to do is, as I said about the goal, try and complete the PMS for at least before this year ends, so that you can have a very clear vision of how your 2026 is going to start. Because all of us, we have resolutions and all that. We all know that somewhere it just deviates and we're not able to keep up with it. That's because the momentum it's lost. We don't have a structured plan. So you can take enough time. We are on the 4th or 5th of December, I guess. Yeah, somewhere in the early week of December. So we have enough 20 days, 25 days for the month to get over. So you can use this time to write down and sketch what your long-term, short-term, and PMS can look like, right? So these 2 activities, you can take it up. Now, the next one is the Johari window. Johari window has 4 segments to it, which is open, blind, hidden, and unknown. Now, these are things or traits of ours, or skills of ours, or personality shades of ours, behaviors of ours that we either know or don't know, right? So it fits in either one of these brackets. Now, what is the open bracket? Open bracket is something that I know. For example, if I'm talking about myself, I know I'm good at this, and I also know the world knows that I'm good at this. So both internally and externally, everyone is aware of what I'm good at, right? So that's an open window. Open window is always good to be increased. So the more open you are, it's always good for it to be known to the known out loud, right? The second window is the blind window. Blind meaning where I am blind. So as easy as it sounds, if I'm blind, I'm not able to see, but the world is able to see. So I don't know what I'm good at, but the world knows what I'm good at. So how will I come to know what I'm good at is by asking the world through feedback. Can you please tell me where I can improve, what I'm good at, and all that? So you should not be blind about yourself. You rather should be open in that area. The third area is called the hidden, where you kind of want to hide it. So it is known to you, you hide it, right? So you know what that area is, but you don't want the world to know. So usually for hidden area, we would like it to be somewhere around 10% if it's too secretive and confidential. Otherwise, anything outside of 10% is not good. So you should always disclose to the extent possible to the outside world, and not have the hidden area too big. The last one is the unknown area, where it's not known to you, neither nor is it known to the external world, which is difficult to crack, right? At least if one of the party is aware of it, it's easier to understand. But because this is a very black area, you'll have to do it through a shared discovery. So if you have a group of friends who you have for a long time, you can just sit with them and be like asking questions about yourself that they are also in a very shady place. They're not able to give you a crystal clear answer. Neither are you aware of the answer yourself. Somewhere together, you guys can work on that unknown area. So this is the third way of analyzing yourself. The next one is a mood board technique. Just like a visual board, mood board is nothing but every day we have hormonal shifts because of the food we eat, because of the time we sleep, how many hours have we clocked in, and even if we sleep for 9 hours, what are the quality time that we have spent in the deep sleep and the REM cycle, and what is the fitness level that we have? Are we fit enough? And all these different components, right? What are the different types of salt and sugar intakes have you taken the previous day? How much amount of stress in terms of work are you ideally spending? How much time are you actually spending time with your family and friends? So a lot of different components set your mood. So a lot of people just wake up grumpy and they say that I'm always grumpy in the morning. It's not that. This whole 1 hour is only for me to emphasize that there is no fixation on how you are as a personality. You can always tweak it. You're not that person who always wakes up grumpy. You can wake up in a very choppy happy mood. You can also wake up in a very soothing calm mood as well. You don't have to be that person who needs that 1 hour to wake up. You don't have to. You just have to understand that what your physique, what your body is telling you. And if it tells that, if you probably had an heavy dinner the previous day, the next day you will feel very sluggish. That's the automatic move, because for that amount of food to get processed during sleep, it takes a lot of energy and it'll drain you, right? So you have to understand yourself, as I said the earlier slide, as to what are the components that can be tweaked for you to have a certain outcome. So the first thing is what I can tell you is create a board which is called a mood board, and on a daily basis, just ask yourself how the day is, starting off and ending, right? So when the day started, you can write how you have started the day, what are the thoughts that have just started in your mind when you woke up, and what are the feelings in your gut, and what are the feelings that you've had when you just woke up from the bed, right? And towards the end of the day, you can just, as I had earlier told, alongside writing how the day has gone, you can also write what are the different fluctuations in the mood you had. So when you start writing this, at least for like 30 days, you will get a pattern. Okay, the pattern will link you. You will understand the pattern will be more towards food, more towards sleep, and all that. And you'll be able to have a data point to understand, okay, if I do all these, then the next day is very sluggish for me. And if I do all these, then the next day is great for me. So you can work around it. So the more data we have, it is easier to work around it. The fifth one is brand building, which is also image creation. Image creation is nothing but a personality, right? So few people, when we look at them, we get a very charming outlook. Few people, when we look at them, we feel like, they are throwing so much of an attitude, which is an issue. So we start judging them based on what kind of personality they emote, right? So that is an image creation. Why am I saying it's a creation? Is because for us to behave a certain way, it cannot be just outside, it has to be inside first. Okay. So for example, when I started this session at 4 o'clock, I can't just, randomly doing other work, just come to my chair and start presenting. It's not possible for me to be able to be prepared to give this presentation in a particular format that I have in my mind. I have to prepare myself internally, right? Similarly, if I want all of you to take some good takeaways from this session through my personality shade, I have to emote that personality. I can't be very sluggish and sit like this and expect you guys to treat it very professional. So image is a created format from internal, and it's not just in the external side. So the way we shake hands, the way we sound, the kind of pitch and tones we use, the way we dress, all these are internally created the way we feel, and then it's seen in the outside world. So before you start walking, talking, sitting, greeting, or the way you look, Understand if that is the personality you want to eject outside today. Is this the person that I want to project today? And am I okay with the world seeing this personality today? And if you're good to go with it, then please go ahead. But if you feel like, no, I don't think so, that in the long run, I want the world to look at me this way, then you'll have to start changing the internal clock first, right? So that is the brand building and image creation. Emotional intelligence. Now, a lot of people, we get manipulated through emotions because we think emotions run us, but that's not the case. The myth is our brain manipulates us because of our hormonal shifts. And us being women, we can understand hormones better than anyone else, I believe. So we have different cycles in a month. So we understand how hormones play a great role in our mood swings, which is nothing but emotional the play, right? So in the psychology part, we have four segments to EI, which is awareness, management of self, and awareness and relationship with the external world, which is inward and outward, right? Today, because we are focusing on the inward, the awareness and management part, I'll give you a few methodologies to work with your emotions, because one thing I keep telling myself on a daily basis is a mantra I for myself is I cannot choose to be run by my emotions. I have to be the master of my life. I want my cognitive abilities, my mind to be crystal clear and to be able to run the day I want to run. I don't want the moods to run me through the day. I can't be like in an hour happy and the next moment someone just tells me something and I get provoked by it and the next 1 hour goes off in me being angry. I don't want to give the key to someone else. And if I don't want to give the key to anyone else outside, neither do I want to give it to my emotions. So physically, if you're ill, then if you have certain treatments that you can do to be a little better, so can you do for your mental health as well. I'm not telling you the mental health is not important. It's very important, but it's always in your hand that you can tweak yourself and be a better version, right, at all points in time. Now, for awareness, few strategies that you can do is, don't tell that anger is a bad emotion, happiness is a great emotion. And if I'm not having any mood to do anything and I'm just sitting and doing nothing, then it's a bad emotion. There's nothing called bad and good in terms of emotions. Emotions are just your bodily hormones, which are there inside you, giving you certain feelings. And you just have to understand what those feelings are. If you like those feelings, stay with it. If you don't like it, change it. That's it. It's as simple as it is. Observe, as I said, observe what your emotions are. And sometimes, or most of the times, the emotions go into physical format. So if you're feeling very anxious, you kind of have heartbeats very fast, you don't feel like eating, and your gut goes into a problem, and your mental clarity is not there. Maybe you've prepared great, but if I'm, say, for example, I've prepared great for the session, but what if I'm anxious at 3:55? Then whatever I've prepared goes for a toss, right? So all you have to do in terms of awareness is to just observe yourself from the external point of view, meaning try and see yourself from the outside. So, what if you're a different person, right? You are observing your own self as a third party. So, if I'm looking at someone else's life, it's very easy for me to tell where they can improve, where they're going wrong, and all that, right? Similar to that, just observe yourself, okay? And collect data points. Don't immediately associate emotions to it. Observe the emotions, collect data, and just without any kind of emotional trauma to it, if you want to tweak that emotion, understand what are the ways in which to kind of change the emotion and just go about it in a very cognitive fashion, right? Now, what are the ways in which you can change the emotions? First thing is breathing, because most of us, we are with both nitrogen and oxygen. So if the nitrogen oxygen mix is not great in our air, what we breathe, then we will feel anxious. So are we even aware of it? No, we are not, right? Most of the time, science just goes out of our mind when we start having emotions in play. Logic is not there anymore. So for us to start, feeling a little better, then just sit and breathe. So you can do box breathing, you can do sigh breathing. There are different ways of breathing, but all you need to do is when you exhale, take longer time. Okay. So inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth, and exhale for a longer time more than you're inhaling. So it's the first easy thing that you can do. Second thing is A lot of people start counting to 10, start counting to start saying ABC and all that. That is because they start making their cognition work. They're basically giving a lot of brain usage so that the emotions can subside. So that's one way. Third thing is to sleep on it. This works for a lot of people, but if it is through the day, then you can't do this. Okay, what you can do through the day is to start journaling. So if you have emotions that you can't vent out immediately to anyone else, neither can you talk out loud, just have a piece of like a pocket book and just write that emotion so that it's out of your system. Basically, the big thing is to get it out of your system. The minute it's out, then your brain gets a clarity, the fog is removed, and you can work better. So that's the whole idea. And a lot of people listen to music. You can go for a walk, which is the best thing, because if you're going for walking, you're doing a lot of things. You go out in the nature, you start noticing things that's around you, you start being in the present, you forget what even happened most of the times. And a lot of people listen to music, so that's another way. And because you're walking, you need a lot of you breathe, right? So that's a implied way of you getting better. So walking solves a lot of things other than just you getting fit. So emotional intelligence is not, again, just to end emotional intelligence, it's intelligence because you're taking emotions in your control. You're not letting the emotions go haywire. That is emotional intelligence. Assertiveness, and a lot of people, they do not know the line between aggressiveness and assertiveness. You don't have to necessarily put another person down, even if their point is wrong, in order to prove yourself right. You just have to emphasize what you're trying and saying with a strong eye and your point of view without taking the other person into your talk. Now, say you're in a room full of, you're sitting in a meeting, a room full of people and discussing on a very important deal. And suppose you know you're right? And you know that the other person is wrong. You don't have to necessarily put the person wrong. You just have to say that you're right and leave it there. Because a lot of the times, assertiveness cracks the deal, and aggressiveness does not even neutralize, it brings down the deal. So for example, say you're going in a rickshaw, you're going in an auto or a cab or whatever, and you know you're supposed to take a right. Okay, and the guy just goes straight. Instead of saying that, oh, you're going wrong, please take that right, you should have taken that right earlier, because it touches the ego of the opponent, right? Instead of doing all that play, very assertively say that I'm sure that it should have been a right there. Nevertheless, we can take the next right and we can solve the route, right? So what happens is that it shows that you have confidence in what you're saying. You're standing your ground and not putting the other person down, on the ground. And so the opponent starts respecting you even further. So assertiveness is more than an I than a you. Values. Now, I talked about capital building identity, which is CBI, which is nothing but you work on yourself. You have a lot of strengths and behaviors and personalities, all and values. Because you say a few people would like to be punctual no matter what, whether it's raining, cyclone, or it's their flight got delayed, whatever it is, they'll find other ways out to kind of be punctual. That's their value. They cannot live without it. And few people, if it's like outside their control, they'll admit to the reason and they will apologize. Few people will not even apologize, right? So there are different value measures that we live on because of our personal beliefs. That also is a component to our CBI, because CBI is nothing but, if I have to break out, identity is you, right? So the components of you'll have to start building in order to form a capital, which is your capex. Now, your capital is your strength, which is your resource. It is you. No one can touch that resource. No one can take out of that. It will not deplete. It will only keep filling. So you'll have to work on that identity of yours and build it so that the capex is high and full. And because if you don't have a good CBI, suppose today you're not coming early, tomorrow you are, and another day you are fine with another person coming late, no one can understand who you are as a personality. So you have to start understanding your core beliefs and what is it that you cannot tamper with, and start building on it slow on a day-to-day basis, and make sure that there's no tampering done on that value by an external party, so that it forms a capital. That's called a CBI, where values form a part of the CBI. We all know about the next few set of all these analysis. As I said, all these are theory that we are, or we are aware of because of the social media life that we're living in. But how much are we actually putting into practice? we have to ask ourselves that question. Affirmations and manifestations. This I can tell you. I have on a personal note, I have a young toddler, and every day I make sure that I teach the toddler certain affirmations. That's not like a personality. I don't want the affirmations to look like I am happy. I want to be happy. No, I don't want the affirmations to look like that. I want the affirmations to be skill based. Okay. So I don't want happiness to be an outcome. I want the skills to be an outcome. For example, I will stand my ground no matter what if I am right. I will apologize the minute I know I am wrong. I will not consciously hurt another human being or any living being. And if I unfortunately hurt, I will immediately apologize and not repeat. So, what happens eventually, all put together, personal, professional together, at the outset, the overall outcome is you will be happy. Affirmations is you talking to yourself, pointing at yourself, and being like, you are great. Okay. But how will you be great? Because great is very vague. How exactly will you be great? It's according to what your value system is, what your principle is, and where you want to achieve in life, right? So all these are affirmations. The reason I'm saying this as on a personal example is because very recently, when the toddler acted out of the way from the affirmations, the minute I repeated the affirmation to the toddler picked up and apologized and said, I will not do this again, right? So what happens is it is stored in the subconscious mind. And the more we are principle based, then the outcome is not what we are reaching. It's a process that we are developing. So manifestation is nothing but what you visualize, who you want to become, and making sure you're that version from now on. You're not waiting for that future to come. You start working on the future from the present itself. And affirmation is another sub concept of manifestation for it to happen. You can write down affirmations. You can listen to other people affirm to you. You can have all the mobile phone apps of affirmations, or you can write down. You can talk to yourself looking at the mirror. There are tons of ways for you to affirm to yourself, as long as you feel it in the core. Routine with rituals. Now, you can ask yourself this question: what kind of routine do you have? And a few people have a work week routine, a vacation routine, a weekday routine, all that. See, we are creatures of routines, whether you like it or not. And we perform our best when we have a routine. Now, if we leave the day to take us wherever it wants to take us, then whatever goals and dreams that we have, we don't have a definitive timeline. For us to have at least a part of our plan to come under control, we as human beings are made of routines. We need to set our timers as to when we our body wakes up, right? So from the time that we wake up, what is the morning routine? Now, it sounds very cliche because nowadays in Instagram, you find morning routine, evening routine. I'm not talking about all the skincare part of it. I'm talking about you as a person, right? How do you not just exist, but live your life with the best of the routine? Now, for me, I want a particular exercise to be done on a particular time, right? So, in that 1 hour or 1.5 hours, I don't take up work. No matter what, I don't take up work because that's my routine. I don't want that to be cracked. Similarly, outside of 9 p.m., I don't take up work because that's my family time. Then after 11 p.m., no matter what messages come, I sleep. So there's a routine that gets formed, which is easy for things to fit under that timeline. Now, if I have like 8 hours of work, out of which 1 hour goes for lunch and refreshment break, I have 7 hours. Now, in the 7 hours, I can understand with my efficiency and capability, how much of work can I take in? I can't just load myself and be overwhelmed with the tasks I have and saturate myself with the task and not be able to perform best. So you need to have a routine for yourself which suits you, okay, with the right kind of sleep and food and all quality time and professional work, and follow that no matter what. There's no choice there, right? So that works great. Thinking impacts is I've given you three different methodologies, which is thinking, thoughts versus thoughts, 5 second rule, hot and cool thinking. Just give you a brief. We are all born with thoughts. Okay, so that's how we are born with. We have tons of thoughts running in our mind. We as human beings are gifted with a sense to understand which thought am I going to spotlight on and give it some impact, give it a weightage for that thought to become a thinking process. So you don't have to necessarily think on all your thoughts then, because not all your thoughts are fruitful. Most of them are futile, right? You have to segregate the thoughts into which is productive, not productive. Productive thoughts you can then spotlight and give some weightage to it and understand if you want to think on that thought. So that is thinking versus thoughts. 5 second rule is, if you are a person who procrastinates a lot, do not let yourself think too much on the task of procrastination. Rather, count yourself 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on in the descending order. And the minute one comes, you just have to start doing the particular task irrespective. So you're not giving too much of time to think. It's a 5 second rule where start counting on the descending order of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The minute one comes, you just start doing the job. Hot and cool thinking is, hot is a form of thinking because it's too hot. It's all instinctive, right? Something that requires immediate attention, something that just cropped out of nowhere, which requires immediate decision. You have to apply your hot thinking where your instinct plays. Cool thinking is which is not too urgent, but it's very crucial and important, where you have to sit in a very calm mind and apply strategies and analyze and then come for decision. That is cool thinking. So you have to decide in your life whether you have to have a hot thinking round or a cool thinking. That is your thinking impacts. uh, the the next three segments that I've given can all be bucketed into the singular aspect of, um, you have to not just think of you wanting to live the best life, but also everyone around you to live the best version of themselves. The reason is, even if you are not a Karna, where you want to give the best, you want the best for everyone else, even if you don't have that innate personality, it is fine. Think of it this way: if everyone is giving their best, they will give that part of the best to you, where you can also benefit. If the other person is not growing, they will not be able to give the best to the world, where you will also be receiving the worst of them. So on whatever facets of life, you have to live your most and more capabilities. There's abundance in life. There is nothing is limited, including money. Money is a piece of paper. Though being a chartered accountant, I'm telling you this because it's getting printed. It's all man-made at the end of the day. So there's nothing limited in your mind. If there is a limitation, it's only your mind. Everything is unlimited. And if you want to grow, think of the dearest and scariest dream that you want to live and just achieve it, because it's, if you've thought of it here, if you think you can achieve it here, then you can obviously achieve it, and it's only a matter of time that the world gets to see what you have achieved here as well, right? So to think most and more and to live the same way, and for that mindset to come abundance, right? All you need to think is, I have so much, like I'm a growing tree, right? I'm not going to stop. No one can stop me. So is another person. So they're also going to grow. If I'm growing, let them also grow. And if both of us grow, we can share our best to each other and grow even further. So attitude comes from assertiveness, where I am who I am. I'm also more than who I am, because most of the times we are blessed with so much things that we don't even know. We are not even aware of it, right? So just understand yourself as someone like a growing tree, and every day you're just growing, and everyone else also can grow. And if you can have this vision, you start showing only the positive effects of yourself to the outside world. Um, the next three thing I'm going to say, again, I've bucketed into the three, is fitness. I've also already touched upon this in the routine. Please make sure to have your, just like how you sharpen your pencil before start writing, sharpen your mind and your body before starting the day. Early morning is the best time, where you can just, if you don't have to carry weights, though as women we are, we should do weightlifting. It's highly recommended for our bones after a certain age, bones and muscles to not deplete at least. So we have to have some sort of weight training, some sort of like cardiovascular activity. So half an hour of that, and half an hour to 45 minutes of that, and 10, 15 minutes of you journaling and how you want to have the day go by, right? So you have to sharpen both. If you can listen to podcasts or read some books in the morning, whatever you like, right? If you can sharpen both the tools before starting the day, nothing like it, because that's going to make you write even faster. Five folds of why and how is a beautiful technique, which I would urge you to, along with your other activities, do this, is to understand yourself better. If you are reacting a certain way or responding a certain way to any situation, ask yourself questions of why. Okay. So suppose right now I'm drinking water. Okay. So in the middle of the conversation, I'm just grabbing the water bottle. I have to like ask myself, like, why did I even go to the water bottle? I was like giving a presentation. Why am I even thinking of the water bottle? Say, suppose the answer is, okay, I was thirsty. Okay. And now I have to ask another why, second why. Why was I thirsty? My mind was into the presentation. So probably it can say that I was parched. Okay. My throat was itching because I'm talking a lot. My throat was itching. And now the third why was my throat itching? Am I, talking too loud? So the answer is yes, you're just too loud. So why am I too loud? Why can't I speak less? Okay. So then that'll give you another answer. So to every answer, you have to ask another why until you reach the five whys for you to understand the root cause. Similarly, if you don't want the event to happen in the future, you'll have to ask the five hows. So, how am I going to achieve by not grabbing the water bottle next time? It'll probably say that, okay, don't talk, like drink some water before. And the next how am I going to segregate at what points in time am I going to drink how much water, warm or cold? That'll give me another answer. Again, to that, the next question of how. So, just like how you do five whys in the lower format, you have to ask five hows in the upper format for you to be able to tweak that particular activity. The 17th way is a form of nudging. Means you're just giving a push, a nudge for your brain to work a little better. We have already seen spotlight practices where for our thoughts, for it to turn into thinking, we have to spotlight only on those thoughts which has some productivity. Similarly, mental accounting. Now we know accounting, but what is mental accounting is we segregate, right? This hour is, we talked about routine. This hour is my physical fitness. This hour is my for my mental regime. This hour is for my family. This for a few hours I want to take up meetings. So you have to account your timeline, your work in a particular format, so that all the job gets done. You're not feeling too saturated and squished, and you're also performing your best. Because the more you put it into an accounting format, then you know whether it's given enough breaks in between or not. Framing effect is nothing but a cognitive ability where it can also form a bias. Now, framing is I can say that, oh, I've been talking since 4 o'clock, I'm done. Or I can be like, oh man, it's already 4:50, I have so much more to give. So, how you frame the concepts, it will determine how you feel, okay, and how yourself is. So, always try and frame it in a way where you're manipulating the brain to always be positive. So, that these are the a few examples of nudging. The last three self-analysis tools I can tell you is finite, infinite. Again, infinite is a sub-concept of abundance theory where, say, if you're putting your kid to school and if you're only focused on the grades, like I want you to take A plus in all your exams, that's a finite mindset because you're being competitive where you want to just outperform one single or 50 people, students in the class. Whereas if you're focusing on learning, even if you get grades which are average, it still is fine as long as you're asking the right questions to the teacher, as long as you're learning the concepts, as long as there's continuous learning, right? So we should not focus on finite games. We should focus on infinite games, right? So that is finite and infinite theory. Multitasking with single-minded focus. Now, why is this an analysis tool? Is because we think multitasking is to do a lot of tasks all at once. No, multitasking is I have say 10 tasks in a day, but I'm going to segregate, which is called mental accounting. I'm doing mental accounting of all these 10 tasks in different time periods. And when that task comes, I'm going to focus singularly only on that task. So what happens is towards the end of the day, you've completed a lot of tasks. And when you were doing a singular task, you had that focus clarity on only on that task. So that's why it's called multitasking. And it's not because you do a lot of tasks all at once. And the very last thing we know is PNP, where it talks about planning, prioritizing. I'm not going to talk about time management in detail or PNP, but I know a lot of people think time as a very limited resource. No, it is not. It's an infinite resource. We have put a 24-hour format or a 365-day format or years format for our human understanding. There are a few countries or a country or two in the world where they don't have a clock which exists. There is no time. You are born, you die, and you do whatever it is you want in the middle. I think it's very fascinating if you think of it that way, where you don't have time limits. Okay, the sun rises and then the sun sets. Now I can rest up, all that. So there's no real time limitations. You understand your body clock better, your because we all don't know when we're going to die. So there's real no time that we can give. So having understood that, we live the life with that kind of frame, and we plan and prioritize the tasks that we feel right now is important in our lives, and focus only on that and live our life. So that's one way of living. Certain people have PNP where they have a set tasks to complete in deadlines, and they plan and prioritize accordingly. But always remember, time is created. It is not to be thought of a limited resource. That's why it's called time management. It's a resource which you cannot get back, but it can be managed better. But it is not a very restricting resource as well. So these are the different 20 different analysis tools, as I said, that you can work on, but don't work on all of them at the same time. Pick three or four at a time and start working on it like for at least a quarter or up to 6 months. Once you have grappled the effect of the same, then you can move on to the next, right? So whatever plan that you have, create a discipline out of it. Make sure you have resources, evaluate and understand yourself better, and accept yourself, so that the understanding is the first layer, and then you can start developing. And always remember, whatever you're talking becomes your thoughts, and your thoughts becomes your words, which in turn becomes your actions, and then it derives your destiny. So your definitions and thoughts is a primal point for you to focus on. And whatever habits you create, make sure that you are consistent with that habit, whatever analysis tool that I've talked about, or any habit. And you have the willpower to be consistent, and you have the discipline to carry it over, and take one habit at a time, and then take more in the future. You don't have to dump yourself with everything. And know yourself better and master yourself, which is a true power. And thank you all for this opportunity. I wish you all most and more in your potential for you to reach your highest capabilities. Thank you once again to the committee, organization, all the audience members, everyone who has been listening. Thank you very much. Have a very lovely evening.
Hi, thank you, ma'am. Hello. Thanks to our wonderful speaker, C. Madhurika Raghuraman ma'am, for apprising us, and also my gratitude to all take the time for the session and making it successful. Thank you, ma'am, for the session. Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.